Hello and welcome everyone to a special edition of the Daily 8 on the News 8 Live Desk. Phil Penarski here with the top stories of the day, and you better believe that most of them are going to be weather related. The Arctic blast that we've been expecting for some time now has finally arrived and will be staying put for the next few days. We are going to be checking in with Storm Teammate meteorologist Scott Larson coming up in just a bit to go over the latest that we're seeing from the forecast side of things. But first, we do have some headlines to get through today. As you can imagine, it's been a pretty busy day already. And before we get into our first story, I do want to remind everybody that we are following a pileup on I-96. We talked about it a little bit ago on the live desk. Actually, we'll be bringing you the updates, of course, coming up on woodtv.com and throughout the rest of the day. But we do start near Kalamazoo, where a fire truck was hit while responding to another crash. Again, in Kalamazoo County earlier this morning. It happened on I-94 near mile marker 83 around 5:30 this morning. That's according to the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office. A truck had reportedly gone off the road and hit a power pole. The fire truck was placed on the outside lane to block traffic while first responders tended to that first crash, but it was then that another vehicle was unable to stop and it ultimately hit the fire truck. The driver was taken to a nearby hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No first responders were injured in this crash, but the fire truck did suffer heavy damage. That is according to the sheriff's office. And there are plenty of safety tips that we want to let our viewers know about, especially as we enter much colder temperatures throughout today and much of the week. From chimney cleaning to energy saving advice, we've got you covered over on woodtv.com, your one-stop place to find everything you need to know over these next couple of days, specifically from Storm Team 8. Consumers Energy and local fire departments also want to extend some knowledge as to let as many people know how to avoid disasters and possibly some of those unwanted bills. Consumers providing some energy saving tips, and the fire department letting people know what is probably the best way to heat up your homes and some ways you probably want to avoid. That's all over on our website. One thing we did want to let people know here on the live desk, though, is to report any frozen or leaking fire hydrants in your neighborhood to local fire departments. That would be a major help for them in case there is a fire over these next few days. They can come on out and clear those off for you. And the Arctic blast is likely going to lead to a lot of negative wind chills, a lot of cold temperatures that we've been seeing here in West Michigan already. It could get as low as negative 25 degrees at some points, and cold temperature advisories have actually been already implemented. This is the coldest West Michigan has been in some time, about 6 years or so. If you remember the 2019 polar vortex, that was probably the last time we saw anything close to this. And we actually sort of compared the two events, and there are a few differences, including how cold it will actually feel like. The setup and potential impacts, however, from the two events are fairly similar. Thankfully, though, this stretch of cold weather looks to be a little bit less, seems to be sticking around a little bit less than it did in 2019, and it will be fairly warmer. As the lowest we'll see during this Arctic blast is about -4, and we saw temperatures, not the wind chill, the temperatures back in 2019 at -10. We're also expecting to not get as much snow in areas closest to the lakeshore, but time will tell if that actually plays out. And the cold weather isn't all bad, though. The snow falling has made for some parts of West Michigan to be picturesque. I saw some great views on my way to work while I was driving well below the speed limit, trying to make sure I get to work safely today and make sure everybody that does go outside do the same thing. And if you have some time, hopefully you're staying at home. If you do have some awesome shots, well, we'd love to see them. You can actually go ahead and send them out to us here at News 8. If you do plan on going outside, make sure you are just out there for a little bit, as again, the cold temperatures could be dangerous. You can actually submit your winter fun photos to us right now. We've got a Dropbox link set up over on woodtv.com for you. And we usually check in with Storm Team 8 at the end of the show, but we've made an exception based on this exceptional weather event. Scott Larson joins us now with the latest on the Arctic blast. Scott, take it away.
Hey, good afternoon, Phil. As you were mentioning, a good opportunity to get some photographs as we continue here through the next couple of days, especially at sunrise and sunset. We may have the occurrence of some sundogs or sun pillars as we have some ice and snow continuing to hang in the air. Certainly looks like winter out there, especially in Grand Rapids and Muskegon right now. You can see the flakes flying, and we have some reduced visibility as a result of that. Winter weather advisories for inland counties until 7 o'clock in the evening on Tuesday. Toward the lakeshore, that's going to persist for a longer duration of time until 1 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. anticipating widespread 4 to 8 inch snowfall totals, but there could be as much as about a foot leading toward I-94 and right along the lake. So definitely want to be careful over these next couple of days as we have round after round of snow. You can see that's continuing to shift onto the shoreline there as we look at Storm Track Live. We do have that west-northwest wind, and it's pretty powerful too, and that's going to continue to keep the snow showers with us for a good chunk of today, likely into much of Tuesday and even into Wednesday morning when we start to see some of those advisories snapped off. Here's a look at visibility now. You can see that that's limited to about a mile or less for many locations in West Michigan. So the travel situation remains very challenging out there. Looking at the snowfall forecast, again, expecting about 8 to 12 inches of snow within that darker shade of purple on your screen, lining up just south of Grand Rapids, approaching Kalamazoo, portions of Berry County into northwestern Calhoun County, and then up and down the lakefront also. That's where we'll be packing up the heftiest amounts of snowfall. In addition to that, as you touched on, Phil, we have a cold weather advisory. This is kind of a revision of the wind chill advisories that the Weather Service put out in previous years. Just really reinforces the fact that, yes, it is going to be cold. As you mentioned, wind chill values 10 to 25 degrees below zero. Pretty dangerous situation. You can get frostbite in this sort of situation in as early as about 30 minutes from being outside. Also want to care for your pets during this time. Make sure that they're not out for too long a period of time either. Looking at our temperatures, those are in the single digits, right at 10 in Benton Harbor. And meanwhile, the wind chill values are at about 10 to 15 degrees below zero for most of the area. The wind looks to stay strong through the course of this afternoon, easing off just a little bit into tomorrow. Not a whole lot of power outages to inform you of at this moment, but that is also something that we're continuing to keep an eye on. And going back to historical reference here, recent high temperatures at 10 degrees or below. You have to go back to January 15th of 2024. Otherwise, it's been since the end of January in 2019. We'll also get a look at traffic out there. As you can see that we do have things slowed up, in particular along US 131 north and south. The Ford Freeway also kind of a mess, at least in the southwest direction, approaching Hudsonville from downtown. As we look at the current layout of accidents, you can see, well, we have a lot of slowdowns out there. Anywhere that you find the yellows and reds on your screen, primarily US 131. That's really been hit pretty hard here today. A lot of accidents reported out there. You can see that we still have that closure of I-96 eastbound due to an accident. Another one blocking the right-hand lane of US 131 southbound. And then shifting to the south near M6, you can also see a couple of accidents there on 131 northbound. So again, just a pretty challenging situation, not just with the cold, but with the snow. We also have salt and things of that nature don't work as well when it becomes this cold outside. So all things considered, again, Phil, just best to stay home as we continue to deal with this Arctic blast.
Absolutely. Scott, thank you so much for stopping by. We really do appreciate it. We know that you and the rest of Storm Team 8 are going to be on top of this thing throughout the duration of it. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Phil.
Of course, absolutely. And it's not just West Michigan that's dealing with the cold today, as the inauguration of President Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. had to be moved inside for the weather event. We're moving on to some other stories all across the country. We will have live coverage of that ceremony going on throughout the day, and you can also watch it live and in its entirety over on woodtv.com. This is a live look at it now. As I mentioned, President Trump now taking to the podium. He was sworn in just moments ago. Remember, tune in to News 8 or woodtv.com for more on that. Again, going to be having continuous coverage all day long. And today is, of course, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and we're celebrating the life and legacy of the civil rights icon all day today. And one story that you have got to check out over on woodtv.com comes from digital reporter Matt Jarowski, and it discusses how Dr. King's iconic I Have a Dream speech actually debuted in Detroit before he addressed the nation in Washington, D.C. back in 1963. It came 2 months prior during the Walk to Freedom with more than 120,000 people in attendance. All these years later, those who were at the march in person discussed hearing Dr. King speak those famous words for the very first time before the rest of the country got to. You can find the full story right now over on woodtv.com, like I said. And we end today's show with something you definitely don't see every day or really ever. Don Galanto, of Grand Rapids just made history by breaking a Guinness World Record that combines his two passions, lifting heavy weights and unicycling. Galanto is now the owner of the world record for heaviest single weight lifted by barbell overhead press while riding a unicycle. Try fitting that on a trophy. Galanto was able to lift 206 pounds while maintaining his balance on the unicycle. We sat down and talked to him last week, and he says that he spent more than a year training for this milestone and has plans to pass along his teachings to others. All right, that is going to do it for us today on the Daily 8. We will be back again tomorrow with 8 more stories that you need to know for your Tuesday. As again, we are going to be continuously following this Arctic blast. In just a bit, we're going to be keeping you up to date on everything as it comes in. Still here on the live desk, we'll be bringing you hour by hour updates here on the live desk. So hopefully you continue to check in with us. Hopefully you continue to stay safe and stay warm if you are have the day off and are able to just enjoy everything from afar, maybe outside your window. I do want to thank everybody so much for tuning into this latest edition of the News 8 Live Desk. I'm Phil Pinarski, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.